So Cash Nation, I've seen Gladiator 2. Gotta be honest. That was a really good film.
This our road treatment, heroes!
Hands on the mausoleum floor. Blood stains the Coliseum doors.
The gods
Cash Nation, welcome back to a brand new video channel. My name is Cool Guys GG, and today we're here to talk about Gladiator 2. Now, first and foremost, full disclosure, okay? As I mentioned about athlete reaction, I saw the first one roughly 10 to 15 years ago, okay? So when I say I saw it, I have seen clips here and there. I've not seen the full movie, okay? So when I walked into this, there were a couple of things that kind of like surprised me, if you will, okay? But number one is this. The question is this something you need to watch in theaters? And the answer is absolutely yes. Is it a copy paste of the first one in some ways? Yes, it is. Okay, we'll get to that, I promise. But I will say this much. This film felt like a legit theater experience. Okay, like certain films, when you watch them, it's okay. This film you can stream at home. This film you don't have to watch the theaters. This is a film. It feels so big in scope. The minute the film came on screen, I was like, oh my God, the wide shots and everything. Okay, so number one, Paul Mescal. Paul Mescal is someone I've never watched a day in my life. I've never watched his films. I've never seen his work. So when I saw him on screen for the first time, I was absolutely blown away by his performance. Now, a lot of people have been trying to compare him to Russell Crowe, which makes sense for many reasons, if you will. But me personally, I was just like, as long as he's a good lead in the film, that's all I care about. The way he just portrays his character and Lucius, if you will, which by the way, I didn't know if mentioning Lucius in this film was a spoiler or not, because the first two acts of this film, he is called by a different name, FYI, okay? And so Lucius just literally, his whole aura, his energy, the way he looks, the way he walks, the way he does everything, it gives off Maximus vibes. So it's like, hey, these two characters are very, very similar, almost daggum near identical, if you will, right? But to me, I loved him how literally he never faults anybody. Like, he doesn't sit there and take orders from anybody. When someone tells him to do something, he's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna sit there and speak when you want me to speak. I'm gonna speak when I want to. You tell me to do this, I'm not gonna do that. Like, for example, in the film, he is told to hurt people on command. He's like, nah, I'm not your slave. I am not your tool of destruction that you can use when you want to. I am my own free man. And that's shown a lot in this film, okay? His action sequences were great. And I love it too how he is so smart. Like, there are certain sequences in this film to where he's fighting creatures and animals, if you will, like the rhino in the film, dogs or something. Like, he is smart in how to evade them and how to fight them and how to basically go one-on-one with them. And I found that so fascinating, okay? Number two is the shots. The director of this film, Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is a director I'm not very familiar with. This film specifically, I'm like, oh my gosh. The minute the film starts until the end of this film, the wide shots, the close-ups, the way that certain things look, the way the fight scenes were shot, you know, like whenever we're doing above shot of the Coliseum, of the arena, where they shot, you know, certain battle sequences, it looked cinematically beautiful, okay? And you know me, I hardly ever talk about shots, and you know, this is the one film, I mean when I say this, it's meant for the big screen and for the big screen only. Like, if you haven't seen Gladiator 1 and you want to watch this film, go for it, by all means. You might miss some stuff here and there. It does its best to try to catch you up, but you know, it's up to you. The third thing I will say I liked a lot would have to be Denzel Washington's character. Now, he is some guy that you meet basically in the second act, if you will. I like it how at first he's trying his best to basically feed the dog, if you will. It's okay, I have this dog that has a lot of rage that wants to just bite and attack people, if you will. Paul Mescal. How do I tame him and how do I use him is his goal. And it's like in the first couple of scenes, constantly, you know, giving compliments, giving him certain things that he wants. And I love it too how Paul Mescal isn't just sitting there like, he's not blindly taking these compliments and following after Denzel Washington. He's sitting there like, I don't care what you do for me. At the end of the day, I have my own goal, my own mission in my own head. That makes sense. And I love it how too, how even when an opportunity from Denzel Washington presents itself to Paul Mescal, how Paul Mescal doesn't always do what Denzel Washington wants him to do, if you will. And so I liked it how in this film, how Denzel Washington has a very clear clear goal he wants to achieve in this film. He has a very specific thing he wants to happen. And through some very convenient things that happen, he is able to get what he wants. I enjoyed seeing Denzel Washington go from trying to tame the dog to having its own goals and its own path to follow as well, okay? Now, my negatives are this. Pedro Pascal, I feel like wasn't given enough. He has one good scene in the film, in my eyes, just one good scene. The rest of the film is just kind of meh, if you will, where he is a general, right? He is General, whatever his name is in the film. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot his name of the film, sorry. But basically, General Pedro, he has one good scene, which is in the very beginning of the film, right? And after that, you're just kind of like watching him talk here and there, try to do certain things, plan certain things, make things happen. And to me, I'm like, I wish we would have gotten more of him as a general, him leading his men, him talking to maybe Paul Mescal, if you will. I wish we'd have seen more of his character in the film because we're told a lot about him, but not really shown, if that makes sense. Also, Connie Nelson. Now, again, I did not watch the first one with her scenes involved. I saw them in flashback sequences. To me, her Pedro Pascal scenes together felt very flat to me. It felt very boring, you know. They tried to have good chemistry on screen, but to me, it just didn't work, unfortunately. Joseph Quinn and his brother, they were fine. They were okay. They were cool, you know. I wish they actually had motivation for why they do what they do, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. And overall, I enjoyed this film a lot. I really, really did. Would I say it's in my top 10 movies of the year? I have no idea. I really don't. One more negative I want to point out is this. Some of the dialogue was very hard to understand. When the characters are speaking the film, you know, reciting poems or other things, it was sometimes very hard to understand what was going on, and therefore it was hard to engage what was happening. It was like, okay, Paul Mescal is reciting a poem for Denzel Washington, and it was like they have some good dialogue back and forth after he's done reciting the poem, but because I couldn't understand what the poem was, it was hard to be engaged and understand what was so good about what he said, if you will, right? To me, also, the film is very, very predictable. Unfortunately, it just is. Okay, like you could walk into this film and literally guess every single story beat that's gonna happen. It's a Roman story. You know, A, B, and C are gonna happen, and D and F, G are gonna happen as well. Okay, and to me, that's a bad thing. To y'all, might not matter, but to me, it is what it is. So the other problem I have with this film is something that kind of was like a plot reveal, but not really. So if you're expecting to walk in to Paul Mescal and Connie Nelson together immediately, doesn't happen, because in this film, I mean, it's kind of a given, if you will. Lucian doesn't know he's Lucian. He goes by a different name, which I mentioned earlier, and it takes him a while to basically remember who he is, and to be like, I remember whatever him and Connie Nelson finally meets, they finally talk. I'm like, oh, you're Maximus' son. Okay, gotcha. That was cool and all. I just was like, okay, how did he forget who he was? Because to me, it said the film specifically, he was sent off at the age of 12 years old to go somewhere else. And you could say, well, maybe, you know, the people that mentored him, you know, they took care of him very, very well. But it's like, yeah, but still, at 12 years old, I remember my name, my dad, my mom, and everything else, right? Unless for some reason they cut a scene out that showed that he was given a potion or something to basically fog or make him forget his memories of who or where he came from, if you will, which would make a lot of sense. I'm like, okay, because at the end of the day, when we're in the third act of the film and things have already taken place and happened, and he finally is like, okay, I am Lucius Maximus. It's a very powerful moment and cool moment in the film, but to me, it was never fully earned because I didn't understand, okay, if you were sent off at the age of 12, how did you forget who you were? And you remember who you are, what was like the main specific thing that happened? You like, there's a couple things in the film that happened so where Lucian starts to basically remember who he is. But to me, when he does remember who he is, it didn't click with me. It was like a moment that felt earned, if you will, you know? Overall, Gladiator 2, I enjoyed quite a bit. I loved Paul Mescal's character. I was able to connect with him on many different things. Him as a leader, him and his courage. I enjoyed his performance overall on screen, okay? So, if you're asking me this question, should you watch Gladiator 2 this week in the theaters? Absolutely, you should, okay? If you haven't seen the first one, are you good? Yes. Did you watch the first one? Sure, might help. Doesn't hurt to watch the first one. I mean, literally, this is a direct sequel of the first one. It is, okay? So, I'll be honest, Cash Nation, I'm torn torn between an 8 or a 9. I really, really enjoyed this film. Okay, I can't give it a 6 or 7 because it doesn't feel right. Like, I would watch this film again in a heartbeat. Like, if tomorrow night Wicked was not in theaters, I would 100% watch this film again. I want to watch it again with my cousin, if you will. I really, really do. This to me is my Gladiator 1 experience, if you will, which a lot of y'all might disagree with, and that's fine. You have the right to do that. But for me personally, I enjoyed this film so much. So, despite the issues, like Pedro Pascal wasn't done the best in the film, dialogue was kind of hard to understand. I think I'm gonna give this film an 8. And I think most importantly, I want to give this film a top seller. Yeah, like to me, a top seller is a film that you engage with so much, you connect with so much that you're just dying to watch it again instantly. Okay, this is a film that when it ended, I wanted more, and it's always a good sign that the film did its job well. So overall, Cash Station, please do me a favor and comment your thoughts on Gladiator 2. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Why or why not? But as always, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more reviews coming to you in the very near future. Peace.